Let's move on to this Broncos-Bills spot right here. The Bills opening up at -5, now -4 across the board. This total opened up low at 36.5. There's 37s and a couple 37.5s in Buffalo at game time. It'll be 40 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy with 14-mile-per-hour wind. The weather's actually really good in all these cold all these cold weather stadiums. It's all pretty good weather. Denver looked like they were on their way to a big win on Sunday, and then Vikings took over, outscored Denver 27-3, 20 points coming in the fourth quarter, outscored them 27-3 late in that ball game. Broncos will be without Andy Yanovich, suffered a dislocated elbow against Minnesota. He's going to be out the rest of the season. He's one of their best blockers. He would have been useful. Cortland Sutton having a big year, breakout year, 805 yards, but Tre'Davious White will be lined up across from him. The Broncos still have a strong defense. 9th in NFL in points allowed, 19.7. 4th in yards allowed, 310.8. 5th in passing yards allowed, 210.3. And 11th in rush yards allowed. Bills defense, man, they limited Miami to 1.8 yards per carry on Sunday. It's going to be much more difficult going up against Lindsey and Freeman. John Brown is AFC's number 2 receiver, 817 yards. He's playing well. Josh Allen is not making mistakes. I'm not sure how to handle this spot, Donnie. Broncos, Bills.
It's a good point you bring up, Jimmy, because how do we really gauge what Denver is actually doing? They go and beat the Cleveland Browns with the rookie quarterback. Then we say last week, like, oh, this is where the buck stops here, man. Rookie goes on the road, tough environment. Minnesota feeling themselves coming off a nice Sunday victory versus the Dallas Cowboys. And then they come out and just 20-0. And still, even though the sign of a good young team, or at least still with it, they blow the lead, Jimmy, but they take the football and go right down the field and set up a first and goal. Weren't able to punch in and get the victory, but I was really impressed. And we talked about this scenario a lot last year on the Audible. The Buffalo Bills weren't a very good a very good offensive team and a decent defensive team last year. They're a little bit better on offense just by a byproduct of a quarterback having another year under his belt. We look at these games the same way we looked at the Jets and, this past weekend, 37s. You need every single thing in your toolbox to go right to stay under 37. I liked what I saw at the Denver Broncos. And if we're taking a look at this, vaunted Buffalo Bills defense, which is ranked high, but you have to look at what's going on. They played Miami 2 out of the past 5 games. They played the Washington Redskins. But even in those games, they're leaky on defense. And as much as I was knocking a couple weeks ago, Denver's got no weapons. They can't do anything. They're moving the ball effectively. They have a pretty good offensive line. They're stacking up in the run. I don't see any. I shouldn't say I don't see any way. There's always a way a game can stay under 37. But I got to tell you, unless we're getting 20-mile-an-hour in really windy conditions where we can't kick 45-yard field goals, I think this game's going to go over the total, Jimmy. I do.
It is a low total. I went over the low total in the Jets-Redskins game, and that was an easy casher. It is a very low total. Very low total. Broncos are a confusing outfit right now. Bills sitting at 7-3, cashed by $400. Over 6.5 wins. And thank you for that. All right, let's move on to Steelers Bengals. I'm still hesitant to even put a lean towards the over here. I don't know what the Broncos... I don't trust the Broncos offensively. Donnie, what were the Broncos doing right against the Vikings in the first half that they stopped doing in the second half? And I know what the Vikings did was they sped everything up. I know that's what they did, but what did the Broncos stop doing in that game?
I don't think they necessarily stopped doing it. It's one of those where the other team is really good on offense, and a top 5 team is going to put pressure on you, because even when it looked like they were stopping, the young kid's going to make some, indecisions and not. Also, some of the play calls, Jimmy. You saw like a 3rd and 1 where, try to outsmart yourself instead of handing the football off. They run a reverse late in the football game. But I liked what they were doing, because the one thing that I can say is the same thing when we look at Buffalo's offense. They have a kid that can actually make plays with his legs if the play breaks down when your offense isn't overly talented, and that should go far in this game. I don't necessarily know it was really a coaching of what they didn't do. That's just a young football team trying to work their way through some things on offense.
Yeah, they're a tricky team to trust at this point.